Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. This is part 2 of my chat with Valerie Joseph. If you haven't watched part 1, please stop this video right now, click on the link at the top right corner of this video and watch that first so that you can get a good understanding of this video. Okay? Alright then, let's get into today's video. So we left off with Valerie telling us
gotten pregnant. The guy actually was married.
Oh wow. Did you
know
this?
No, I didn't at the time. But part of me in the back of my mind felt like there's a lot of stories behind a lot of the things that he says in terms of he's going here, he's going there. I never went to his home. We always met outside, or we'd meet at my place or go out. But for me, it was the thrill and the excitement. So I didn't connect the dots. No, right? I didn't, because I wasn't interested in a conversation more than 10 minutes. I just
so it was like purely physical. It was just I guess the thrill of being, like you said,
yes,
being one and that. Okay.
So I got pregnant, and when I found out that he was married, he still had denied it, and I just thought, I have to own my part. I have to own my errors and where I've fallen short. And that was a part where a turning point, a big turning point, where I really had to turn and lean on Christ heavily.
So okay, I'll just stop you there. So before now you said that you'd felt like kind of God had kind of hurt you, so you were kind of you felt like you should have kind of stood up for you earlier on when your parents told you that. So now you got to this point where you were by yourself to an extent, and then I guess Christ was you knew that you could still go to Christ. Like, what made you feel like I could still turn back?
Because at the time my leaders were still very much involved in my life, so they were emulating Christ to me. How Christ would be. They were emulating that in the natural. They would care for me. Come over dinner, we'd have house fellowship, they'd always invite me. It doesn't matter what you're doing or if you're not living completely right, still be under the covering, still be in this atmosphere, because God can help you to work through those things.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you. I think it's just a point worthy of note for us, I guess, or for people generally. If you feel like you have people around you that aren't quite there yet, like it's not time to kind of like, there's a saying that says that don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. So don't just throw them out because they're not quite there yet. I mean, I guess the fact that you, as you said, you had leaders that were still caring for you, even though they knew you weren't quite there yet. They didn't give up on you, and because of that, you kind of knew that you could still go to Christ because these leaders were there. And I know that I think that's probably what a lot of people struggle, where once they've made the mistake or once they've done something wrong, people are already feel away. People are already castigating them and have given up on them. So because of that, they probably also think God has given up on them. But they don't even try to find out. So it's just a point I thought like it's worth mentioning at this point.
Yes, definitely. I think they made me feel that. They made me see how Christ sees me, in terms of, even though whatever is going on, whatever you try and hide, God sees all, but He's going to love you through it all and hold your hand. So I felt that there would be a safe place to explain and tell them what happened. And at that point, I was in limbo about what to do. Do I carry on with the pregnancy? In myself, the Christ in me, I knew that I didn't want to terminate the pregnancy, but then I thought my whole life is going to be, up in the air. What am I going to do? How am I going to cope with a child? My life is not even stable in terms of I'm just living in my singledom and just enjoying myself. So I then eventually made the decision to keep the pregnancy. And that caused a lot of uproar, of course, with my family. They really weren't happy about it. As I think any parent wouldn't be over the moon. You saying, one, you're pregnant, and also not that you're pregnant and you wanted the pregnancy initially, and that the person who you are pregnant for is not your partner or somebody who you can rely or depend on. It's a married man who is just, not able to provide for that child. So that was a major turning point. I had to really trust God and rely on Him throughout the whole of my pregnancy, emotionally, physically, financially, because there was really nobody there apart from my leaders, and I didn't feel like anybody understood. There probably were people who would have understood if I had reached out, but for me, I just really wanted to be closed off and just inward. I didn't want to voice or discuss anything, so that was.
I'm just imagining that it would have been such a tough time. And as you said, your family weren't obviously over the moon about it, so essentially you only really had your leaders,
Yes.
which I guess they're there, but of course they're not going to be there with you all the time, like
Yeah.
through the nights and the mornings, and where everything just looks bleak. So how did you find God, or you began, I guess, to find God in this time?
Again, yes, I had to rekindle my relationship with God. I think I went through a stage of prolonged repentance, because I would be like, God, yeah, this was my fault. This wasn't X, Y, and Z. And then I realized God doesn't want me to stand there and say, I'm bad, I'm terrible, and axe myself down, which is what everybody else around me was doing. They were axing me and telling me, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. But He didn't want me to do that. He just wanted me to say, I'm home now, can I come in?
Exactly.
And as soon as I did that in my heart, He opened the door, and I was able to have a new relationship, which was, I had to build trust Him financially, and for my health. I was really unwell throughout my whole pregnancy. I was in the hospital a lot of the time, and I didn't have anybody to take me. I was just doing my best to study, work, and prepare for a new child. So I really had to trust Him. There were nights where, I think I remember a night, it was noodles. And the food I had was like bare minimum. I was literally just scraping the pennies to provide, because I knew there's buggy, there's like £2,000 worth of things I need to buy for a child that's coming. I was prideful. I didn't want to ask anybody, because I felt like I've got myself into this situation and I'm going to get myself out, you watch, So I felt like I had something to prove. So it was a tough time, yeah.
Okay, so did you at any time feel like, just lost my train of thought, I can't remember, there's a question I was going to ask you regarding it. Oh yeah, so did you feel like, because I've done this, and even though now God has forgiven me and I've repented, did you feel like, this incident, I guess, has kind of tainted my life, and because of that, like, I don't deserve love, or I don't deserve so much more, like whatever I get is fine?
Yeah, I think there was a period where I did, but God did not allow that to happen. He was like, this is not your portion. I felt that I wanted the best for my child, but I think at that point I was ready to settle for myself. So it's okay if I don't have the support, and it's okay if I don't have a partner with me, and it's okay if everybody looks at me funny when I go to church, or everybody, not that they all did, but it's okay if people judge me. It's okay if people say things behind my back, because I kind of got myself here, and maybe this is a struggle, it's a consequence. And then I had to stop thinking that way and realizing that no, I deserve everything and more. I'm not any different to anybody else. And I need to not hold my head down, hold my head high, because if I can't do that, how will I be able to tell my child to do that? If people say, where is your dad? I have to instill that into my child, to know who they are and know who they are in Christ. So I think that was something that I had to do, and just realize that His love there was just so much grace, as the months went on, provision would come. There was, I think, 7 or 8 months consistently, the amount of my rent, even over by a few pounds, would be in my account. I didn't know where it was coming from.
Really?
I literally did not know where it was coming from. And at one point I thought, are they paying me, like, what's going on here? Like, But I was really struggling at the time to get everything together, and that was just consistently coming. And I remember a day I locked myself out of my flat, and I was just like, oh no, because the locksmith I had called had told me it was something like £100, and I just thought, no, you've got to be joking, because I have everything that I have is allocated for, it's planned for. So, and I remember sitting on the stairs crying, and the Lord, I was talking to God, and I was just saying, oh God, you know, and just talking in conversation, because that was the relationship I had now built up. It was just a friendship and an intimacy. Because I think I was forced to. I didn't have anybody. So it's either you talk to the walls or you talk to God. And I chose God out of the walls, so my neighbors didn't think I was psycho. And the Lord said to me that I'm having a son, because I'd chosen not to find out the gender of the baby. And I'm having a son, and that he's going to give me strength. And it was that day when the Lord spoke to me, and it was just like an audio that I knew even more so than that he was real. And I said, you know, I'm not going to doubt. I'm not going to not trust. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to wallow. I'm going to stand firm, and I'm going to get on this journey. And I know that he has a plan and a purpose. And I think from then things really, really looked up. I kept plowing. I didn't stop. And I just allowed God to do what he needed to do, and I just put everything that I needed before him.
Okay. So I guess fast forward to now, you're married,
Yes.
with another child.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a testimony, like, you know, about that?
So, as I said, I let God do what he needed to do in terms of provision in every area. Initially, when I got pregnant, I thought, oh, well, how do I get married now in the future? I'm going to have to explain that I have a child. And I just had all these thoughts and all these questions, like we do. When any situation we're faced, we find, what am I going to do? And where will I go? When God already has the plan, and he doesn't want us to rack our brains or stress ourselves out. So I was walking home one day, and it was raining, and I remember getting a phone call, and the number that was ringing, I knew the number, and I thought, no, this is not happening. One, because it was an ex-partner of mine. So we had dated from when I was 17 for about 3-4 years. No, 3 years. So we separated, and that was when I started dating again, and that was when I fell pregnant. So I saw the number, and I thought, oh, this is really strange. And it was raining. I thought it's best to put my phone away, and the phone kept ringing. So I answered the phone, and I thought, Lord, in fact, no, I said, devil, get you behind me, Satan. Those were my words, because I thought, no, the devil uses what your weaknesses to tempt you. And I know my weaknesses have been having a relationship, being intimate outside of marriage, and trying to get the love and the care from a male figure rather than from Christ. So I just thought, no. So when I picked up the phone, it was an ex-partner of mine, and he was saying to me, oh, how am I? Just like a casual conversation. I thought, okay, we haven't spoken in nearly 2 years. It's not really a casual conversation. But fast forward that, he said he'd gotten my number from my leaders, actually, and he was coming to a church event that I was having.
So you were hosting the church event?
No, so my church was having an event, and he was going to come to the event, and I was trying to put him off the event and things like that, because I didn't want to tell him I was pregnant, only because I didn't feel like anything was going anywhere, but I wasn't ready to see anybody. So yes, fast forward, he came to the event, and I literally saw him for maybe 2 minutes and bolted off after. As I said, I was rebuking every kind of temptation that the devil could send my way. And eventually we started courting. I told him about myself being pregnant, and just the whole situation, and he was not deterred, and I was just a bit like, devil, this is not gonna work. You know, I was telling him the raw truth, almost to put him off. So if I didn't want him to come to my house, I would say, oh, tell me the toilet's not working, and you know, the plumber's coming, and this is happening. You know, no, I haven't. So I was saying the raw truth, so that he would kind of be deterred, and it would just be okay, I checked on her to see how she was, and you know, she's moved on in life, or everything's fine, let me just get on with my life. But that did not deter him. So I said to him that I think we should stop speaking. So we stopped speaking for a while, and he had tried to contact me, but I had blocked his number. I don't remember doing it, but I did anyway. So fast forward, he contacted me again. It was the new year, and I saw the call, so I answered it, and he explained how he felt and just that he really wanted to see where the relationship could go. And he explained that he was in Christ now, he'd given his life to Christ, and he'd like if we could talk. And I said to him, I think we should both seek God about it. So we spoke on and off, maybe exchanging text messages and things like that, but nothing more. And we then decided to pray about it. So we both approached our leaders at the time.
Just before we go, we've got Joanna in the background, so if you do, which is Valerie's daughter, so if you do hear some noises, just, understand and enjoy the video. Okay, so you're saying that you prayed about it, and then, yeah.
So we both decided to seek our leadership and pray about it. I just wasn't completely sold on the whole thing. I kind of thought, why would we got to bring a relationship right now? I'm just trying to focus, get to the end of this part of my journey. And so I was determined that I didn't want to do anything that was against his will. That had already gotten me into the journey that I was currently in. So we prayed about it, and I think we took 40 days. Yeah.
Sorry, it sounds so biblical.
I know. But we took 40 days, and then we prayed about it, and we spoke to our leadership, and they also encouraged us to pray about it. They didn't just say, yes, I've heard from God. And after the 40 days, I felt at peace. And so we carried on speaking after that. So we carried on courting, and we had told our leaders formally. So we carried on courting, and then I was soon to be given birth. So it wasn't the typical kind of courtship that you would have. We were going to maternity classes together.
How romantic.
Yeah, I know. And they were bringing up pictures of what it would look like when you're giving birth. And I thought, in my mind, I was like, no! Because I didn't want him to be kind of put off by all of that. I still didn't really believe things to really be true, or that, was this really happening? Kind of still doubting that God has a standard for me, and that standard is amazing. That standard is perfection. That standard is everything. Just thinking I should.
And it doesn't change regardless of what you've done.
And so just treading lightly. So we went to classes. We would meet for coffee, which I wasn't as comfortable because I had a big belly. And people would say, oh, congratulations, and kind of like, awkward. So we carried on courting, and throughout our courtship, he just remained consistent. He was so proud to be out with me, so proud to be holding my hand, and he decided that he wanted to be involved when, our son was born, and that was amazing for me. So we just sought our leaders in terms of how do we go about this, because I'm going to be giving birth, we're not married, we haven't been intimate, I want to do things the right way, and he wants to be a part, but I don't really feel comfortable giving birth with him in the room, and so we worked things out anyway. And I gave birth to my son, and initially there were some health complications when we went home with my son, and some breathing issues, and we were back and forth in hospital. He was in intensive care for a while, and he was there with me the whole time. So my husband now, but we were courting then. So he was there with me the whole time. I would stay at the hospital, and then the hospital actually gave us an apartment because it was a long stay that we were there. So it was kind of awkward for us because, again, we were not married, we were still courting, and things were different. But I think our leaders were just saying to us, follow what feels right for you, not make your own rules, but it's kind of a different circumstance, so they can't tell you the textbook answer. So I remember we stayed in a room together, but we had like single beds, and it was my side and your side, and you would go into the bathroom and change, and I would go into the bathroom and change.
Was that well, I guess you were knowing that it's physical for him. Would that have been like some temptation?
I thought it would, but I think we were just so focused on why we were there, which was we were going onto the intensive care unit, sitting beside our son for hours, and coming back when we were dead tired. So it wasn't. I didn't even know what colour shirt he was wearing. It was literally, we were just going through the motions of trying to make sure he was well. And so after that, life kind of settled. We went back to courting as normal in terms of we'd meet at church. I started coming to his church after, so I'd go to my church and then I'd come to his service occasionally. We just normal courtship, getting to know each other on a surface level because there's only so much you can go. And then in November, he popped the question and we got engaged, and I think even then I was just like, wow, God, really? I think most women, if you talked about marriage, we talked about marriage, I think mostly from his end, because the first day that we actually met in person, he said to me, I want to marry you. And I thought, are you bonkers? I just thought, this is so strange. And he was saying, no, I want to do things the right way. And so when it actually happened, it was really a kind of breathtaking moment for me. I just thought, I didn't even feel like I was on earth for a few seconds. So we got married shortly after, about 5 months, and mostly because he wanted a summer wedding and we didn't want to keep our family apart, where my son was living with me and then we would see each other on the weekends. So it was kind of half and half. So yes, we got married and then we went on our honeymoon, which was amazing. Child free. My son was enjoying himself with his the grandparents, and we got pregnant shortly after.
Probably on the honeymoon.
Yeah, probably. And then I now have a daughter. So I have a son and a daughter, and they're just under 2 years apart. And they go on like a house of fire. And I look back and I think, wow, God, so much has happened. But even when I think of, minus that story, just what God is doing in my life now, there's no, because you've done things this way, this is the standard for you, or this is the cap for you. God doesn't work that way, My cup is not shorter than anybody else's. It's the same length and it's the same height. And in everything that I'm doing, in my relationship with him, in expansion in my business and in my relationships, it's just like overflow, and just a reminder for me that there's no limit. And there was a song that I was singing yesterday, actually, There Is No Bondage, and nothing that you do can keep you bound unless you allow it to. And when you have Christ, he loosens you from all of those things, and once you're free, you're free. There's no need to look over your shoulder and think, oh, maybe I'm just about deserving of this, or maybe I should just take second best. You should take the best, and nothing less. And
I just wanted to add, hopefully, Afolabi doesn't mind. Afolabi is my husband, by the way. Obviously, knowing him, I just wanted to add this because obviously some people may be watching and thinking, but we don't know the guy, what does he do? No, he's a really, really, really great guy. And again, I'm just adding this to buttress the fact that, just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean you now deserve second best, and is a really, really great guy. And I can say so much more, but I just wanted to add that again to just realize, to understand, to I guess explain and to make you just emphasize the point that yes, there is no cap to what you deserve just because you've made a mistake. I think the most important thing is repenting and getting up from where you are. I guess when you've hit rock bottom, where else? You can't go any lower than that. That's really the end. But it's a case of not staying there, repenting and turning back and literally forgiving yourself. And I think that's an important part as well. Forgiving yourself for whatever it is that you've done.
And not having a cloud of shame and let it hang over you. I think sometimes we see ourselves worse than other people even see us. We have glasses on and we see things completely different. And maybe some people do see you that way, and that's fine. There'll always be people who have their opinion, but everybody else just looks at you as normal and as amazing while you're still putting yourself down because I did this or I did that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think thank you so much for
You're
doing this. And that's actually when you talk about like the cloud of shame, I remember I just wanted to make a point about also like being able to like I guess own your truth and be able to don't see it as a something like it's a secret that we have to like keep back. So I remember like asking you about this and I was thinking I don't know if you want to do this because it's going to be on YouTube, maybe you don't want to.
Yeah.
But the first like initially when I met you like I kind of felt like, oh, I couldn't really, like, I'll talk to you, then I just felt like it was a little awkward.
Yeah.
But the moment, like, you shared the testimony, I feel like it probably freed you. Like, shared it in church, by the way. I feel like it probably freed you than probably everybody else. And then it almost feel like it was that moment that it broke. And I just wanted to say this, in terms of, like, if you're feeling like, I have something, like, maybe you even, God has forgiven you, you've forgiven yourself, but you kind of just feel like, this is one part of me, I'm just going to hide away. I don't want anyone to know about it. I think it's okay to speak out.
And own your truth. I mean, God
gets the glory at the end of the day.
And there's so many people that are going to be blessed through just hearing my testimony and hearing other people's testimony to know that there is redemption, there's freedom, and I have a grace on me. Everything I touch must work. So
yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I'm just going to leave you with the scripture, which is what I started with, which is the Hebrews 4:16. I'll probably put it on the screen as well. But just remember that you can always go boldly to the throne of grace, that you may find mercy and grace in time of need. So grace, I see grace in terms of like when you're struggling, and so you don't have to like fall. So if you're in like a tempting situation, there is grace. You can go to God for grace to help you through that, and His strength to help you through that. But if you do fall and if you do make a mistake, there is mercy, and God's love is unending towards you. So don't feel less than. All right, thank you so much, Valerie, for doing this. Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having myself and having us both.
You're welcome. So that comment where you get next time. It's Tommy Daniels, and thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe, share, and just get the word out. And also leave a comment. Let Valerie know that you watched it and you're encouraged. All right, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.